Hi, this is Brandy, and it is Fantastic Fiber Friday. And I've had a lot of fun this week with open houses over at Darn Good Yarn and playing with different fibers, and I'm just going to jump right into the fiber of the week. And the fiber of the week this week was Targhee, and I have some of my dyed Targhee over here. And kitten alert. They're running around up here underneath their feet. This is my dyed Targhee fiber, and as you can see, it is really soft. It is kind of a short, you pull out a lock out here, a short staple, and it is super floofy and doesn't have any definition in the crimp pattern really. It's just all curly. So what I decided to do is I decided to use my hand carders and make some roll legs or roll logs, however you say it, and I made a few of these. And a lot of the veg actually came out while I was making these, which was really nice because as you can see there's a lot of veg in there. So I went on to go ahead and spin a little bit of it, and it spun very, very fine. But strong. I mean, it's really quite nice. I was considering throwing it into bats, but I might actually just spin it up by itself because I really do like it. I like how it spun, so it spun up real nice. And if you want to learn more about Targhee sheep, which is kind of the all-American wheat sheep, which kind of fit in with Memorial Day, check Monday and Wednesday's blog. Now my spinning of the week, I did a lot of spinning, but not a lot of spinning of my stuff. I did a lot of playing around. So I finally did finish up Sherbert, and I love how the oranges and the pinks and the yellows came out together in this. It turned out really, really nice. And I had a little trouble plying last night because of said kittens wanting to climb into my Lazy Kate and chew on my yarn. But I did manage to get the 4 ounces done, and this is a 4-ply. Let me pull that off for a second. Look at that, like that. Nice 4-ply. And I think now we'll take a moment with the alpacas. But film the alpacas grazing. This is our little extra pasture where we let the alpacas come out and graze, get away from the goats for a little bit, and goats get away from them. And since alpacas don't challenge fences, we can actually just pretty much use clothesline. This is a nylon line, but just a nylon line and some stakes. And they're pretty good about it. I stay right in this area. Let me see if I can pan back up. It's back as far as it is. I need to back up. And they're pretty much okay with staying right in that area. They don't leave it. So the little extra that the alpacas get just for living here. I hope you enjoyed that moment with the animals, and now I'm going to go into what I did over at Darn Good Yarn on Tuesday. We had an open house, and I gave some spinning lessons, but Nicole had some really fun stuff for me to play with the drum carder. And I've spent the last 2 days playing with the drum carder. And there's different types of recycled silk. There's recycled silk yarn, which Darn Good Yarn sells on their site at darngoodyarn.com. But there's also, this is carded silk waste. And I thought it might be fun to over dye it and see what would happen, and I'll show you the over dyed next week, as it's still sitting in the pot right now, and I have to take it out to dry. And the silk waste was actually a lot of fun. Here it is spun up by itself, where I just spun a little bit of it up by itself because I saw it and I had to play with it. And it's just something a little fun to play with. I tried blending it into a bat and spinning that up, and that made a really fun yarn. And I thought that was really, really neat, a fun way to play with it. And then there's also what they call silk thrums. Now, these would normally be way too long to throw into a drum carder, but if you can cut them down to 2-inch lengths and throw them in, it makes for some really neat bats. And I'm going to show you bats of all 3 types here in a moment, so just bear with me. But these are what are called silk thrums. And then we have silk, I believe these are silk carrier rods that are elongated. And you actually can wet spin these into your yarn like you would wet spin linen. You just want to make the edges ragged enough to actually catch. And I thought this would make a really neat art yarn. I can't wait to play with these. I have not yet played with these. So those are the 3 types of recycled waste silk that she had gotten that I just could not wait to get my fingers on. So here are some bats that I made. And this is my basic blend, the wool mohair and Firestar with some silk thrums thrown in. And it actually carded to be a very smooth, nice bat. I really like the way that looks. So I think that may become a new blend possibly that I'll offer. But because the silk thrums are not dyed by me, I can't control how much of any color I get. So it'll be kind of be a toss-up. It'll be fun. The second one, the second bat that I did last night, I used a bit of wool, a whole bunch of alpaca, and silk thrums again. And that made a very nice blend as well. And I was just playing around how the different fibers came together. I always like a little wool with my silk or alpaca just for some elasticity depending on what project I want to do. But if I decide to make socks or a hat or a headband, I want something that's going to bounce back just a little bit. So I think wool is really good for that, for blending with these fibers. And the last but not least, I played with alpaca, a bit of wool, some silk thrums, and some of the silk carded waste. And what a fun art bat that will be. I love this. But I made myself not spin them up until I actually showed them to you, because I really wanted to spin them last night. And I will probably spin them tonight, because I really want to spin these up and get my fingers on them and play with them. And I will show the spun up options next week. And last but not least, I wanted to show you my shrug from the Lion Brand Summer Crochet Along. And it's much shorter than it was last week. I saw a mistake, I tore back, and I fixed. So I'm back to this point instead of this point where I was last week. But I had made a mistake. I had lost a few stitches along the way, and I lost about 6 inches by the time I got to the other end. So I had to go back and fix it. So I'm kind of back at the beginning on this, but you know what? I'll feel better for it knowing that it's right and not 6 inches less wide on the other side. I guess that kind of tells you the kind of knitter I am too. Not exactly a perfectionist. If I can knit 2 together to fix something, I'll do that. But in this case, it was just too obvious that there was something very wrong, and just go back and tear it out and be done with it. Well, that is all for this week, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next Friday.